Hey guys, and welcome to your first app creation tutorial. Today we're going to make a very basic app using the code.org app lab, and I've called this app Bug Finder. It's a very simple game which works like this. So we click the run button to run our app, click start, and the bug hides behind one of the two tiles. There's a red tile and a blue tile. You select the tile that you think it's hiding behind. If you get it correct, the app will tell you that you win. If you get it wrong, the app will tell you that you lose, and then you have the option to try again. And it basically can repeat that over and over, and hopefully I can get it right eventually. Okay, and finally I've won. So to create your app, you first need to be signed into code.org. So go to the code.org website, click sign in the top right corner, and then select sign in with Google. It'll be a red button. Once you've signed in, you're going to click create in the top right corner and then app lab, and that's going to open a new app for you. So when we design our app, the first thing we're going to want to do is drag in all the components and assets that we need and kind of just ignore the code until we've dragged in everything that we need. So we're going to click design tab here in the top left corner. The first thing we're going to drag in is a label, and we need to give every asset that we drag in an ID. So we're going to call this one title label, and we're going to put a capital L for label and no spaces. The text that we want our label to have is here in the text button, and we're going to want it to start as find me with an exclamation mark. The next thing we're going to drag in is a couple of images. So I'm going to drag in one image. I'm going to rename this one red tile, and then we're going to choose the image. So click choose image and then icons at the top. Scroll down, and I'm just going to select this square with rounded edges here. We can also go in and change the color by selecting the little tile next to icon color, and this one's going to be red for me. I might make it slightly bigger. Now if I want to make a tile that's exactly the same size, I can just click duplicate over here, drag it so that it's over slightly to the right of that one. Click it. I'm going to rename this one blue tile. You can choose a different color if you like, and I'm going to make this one blue. Okay. I also need to drag in another image, which is going to be our bug that hides. I'm going to rename this one find me, and I'm going to choose a bug icon. If I can remember where it is. If not, I'm going to choose something else. I can't actually find it, but we can search in the in the search box at the top for bug, and that will give me the bug. And I'm going to change the color of the bug so that it's green. So that to me sort of represents a bug color. Perfect. And we're going to call this one find me. The last thing I'm going to do is have a button which we can use to start the game. So I'll click and drag that in. We'll call it the start button. And the text of the button is going to say start with an exclamation mark. Okay, and that's all of the assets that we need to create our game. If you want, you can change the color of your tiles by selecting them again, changing the color. You can change the color of your bug. I might actually make this find me label a little bit larger and increase the size of the text. So I can click it, drag the size out, and then change this font size to say something like 20 or even 26, just so it's a bit larger, and I'll center it. Okay, now that we've got all the components that we need for our app to work, we can start coding by clicking the code tab on the top left here. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is create an event or an on event, which when the start button is pressed or clicked, we want the bug to hide behind the red or the blue tile. So we do that by dragging out the on event block, clicking the drop down and selecting start button. So on event, when the start button is clicked, do something. And now we need to tell it what to do in here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. So if we go to the variable tab and select variable x equals something, And then we're going to go to the math, and we want a random number between 1 and 2. And we're going to use that as a way to correspond to the location of where the bug hides between either the red tile or the blue tile. The next thing we're going to do is go back to our yellow tab, the UI controls, and we're going to find the one which is set property of the blue tile hidden to false. And we're going to do that again for the red tile. So all that means is when we start the game, both tiles will become visible. So I'm going to go set property of a red tile to hidden false. True, of course, would mean that it did hide the tile. Okay, the next thing we need to do is create an if statement that allows the code to make a decision on which tile to hide the bug behind. So we need to go to the control tab here, drag out the if and else statement underneath the two set properties we've created, and we're going to put an equals operator in our if statement that says if x is equal to 1, we're going to set the position, which is here somewhere, set position of our bug, which is called find me, to, I'm going to use the plus operator in both of these, like so, and then go back to our UI controls, and we're going to use the X position of our tiles to choose X and Y position to choose where to hide our bug. So we're going to go back to the yellow menu, get the get position, get X position, put it in here, and then get Y position, and put it in there of the red tile, and we're going to add plus 30. Okay, plus 30. And then we need to do the same thing again. So we could go and drag another tile in and paste it in underneath the else, or if you click over here to show text, sometimes it's easier to just copy and paste the line. So if we copy and paste this line here, so highlight it, Control C on the keyboard for copy, and paste it here underneath the else in between these two curly brackets, all we have to do then is go and change our red tile to blue tile, and it's much quicker. And then we can go back to the blocks. All right, let's test to see if that works. So if we click run and then start, our bug is moving onto one of the tiles. The problem is at the moment, our bug is on top of the tile. So let's just try that again. Reset, run, start. Our bug's moved to the blue tiles. I want to see if it can move to the red tiles though, so I'll try again. Okay, so you can see that it can move to both of the tiles. So what this code really is doing is we have a variable called x. Whenever we start the code, x is given either a value of 1 or 2. The code then checks to see if x is 1. If it's 1, it moves it so that it's on top of the red tile. If it's not 1, then it moves it so it's on top of the blue tile. What we need to do is click on go back to the design tab for a second, click on our bug, and then click the far left arrow here to send it to the back so that it places it behind the tiles. So now when we do it, if we run and then click start, you can see our bug's hidden behind one of the tiles, and we can't find out which one at the moment. So the way we do that is we need to create some new events where if we click the tile, once the bug has hidden, the tiles hide themselves and reveal the location of the bug and then tell us if we have won or lost. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new event. So we're going to go to our yellow tab for UI controls, drag out the on event block, and we're going to choose on event that the red tile is clicked. We want something to happen. So the first thing we want to happen is we want both of the tiles to be hidden so that we can see the location of the bug. So if we scroll down our yellow menu here and drag out the set property of red tile hidden to be true. We want to do the same for our blue tile. So set property, blue tile, hidden, true. We also want to change the text of our start button so that it says try again. So we can go and do the same thing, set the property of start button text to try again. Now we're going to do the same thing for the blue tile. So we could go and create another event again, or again, we can go back to the text. We can copy this whole section of code from on event down to the semicolon, Control C, paste it underneath, and change the top of our on event here to blue tile. Because we essentially want the same thing to happen. So on event that the blue tile is clicked, hide the red tile, hide the blue tile, and change the start button so that it says try again. So let's go back to the blocks and try out our app now. So if I click run and then start, the bug hides. I click and then we can try again. Okay, so our app is pretty much complete, except that it doesn't really tell us if we win. So there's not that moment of satisfaction that we've won the game. So I guess that's one last little tweak that we can make to make the app a little bit more engaging. But at the moment, it basically does what we need it to do. It'll hide the bug behind a square and we either get it right or we get it wrong. So to make the title label change to you win or you lose, we need to create one more variable for the location of the bug. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go back to our variables tab, go to the top, and we're going to drag in this one, variable x equals something. We're going to rename our variable to bug location by clicking and typing, and then we're going to initialize it as 0. The next thing we need to do is down here in our if statement, when our bug is hidden behind the red tile, we're going to call that position 1. And when our bug is hidden behind the blue tile, we're going to call that position 2. So we're going to drag in this tile which says assign a variable, assign a value to your variable. We're going to rename it bug location. And it's going to be equal to 1 when it's hidden behind the red tile. I'm going to drag in another one here. I'm going to call it bug location. And it's going to be equal to 2 when it's hidden behind the blue tile. The next thing we need to do is we need to give the code the functionality to check which location the bug was hidden in. And if we guessed correctly, tell us that we've won. If we guessed correctly, tell us that we've lost. So we need to add in another if statement. So we're going to go back to our control tab here, drag in the block that says if and else underneath set property in our red tile event. We're going to go back to math and we're going to use another equivalent operator. And we're going to type if the bug location is equal to 1, which means that we've clicked the red tile and we've guessed correctly. We want to set this label at the top to say you've won. So we go back to our yellow tab and we're going to set the property of the title label text to you win. And if we guessed incorrectly, which means the bug location would actually be equal to 2, we're going to set the property to say that we've lost. Make sure that it's in the else part of the if statement. So title label, text, Okay, now we need to do the same thing in our event down here, but rather than dragging all those blocks in again, we can go back to the text. We can copy from the if down to this curly bracket here, not the curly bracket with the semicolon after it. So from if down to this curly bracket, we can copy, and then underneath the line in the blue tile event that says set property start button to try again, we can paste in that if statement. The only thing we need to change is if the bug location is equal to 2, because when the bug is hidden behind the blue tile, the bug location is equal to 2. And if we go back to the blocks, we can test out our game now, and hopefully it works properly. So I'll click the reset button, run, start, and I've lost because I clicked the blue tile and the bug was hidden behind the red tile. Let's try again. I lost again, and finally I won. Okay, there's one more thing I've noticed that we can improve on our app slightly. So if we reset and run our app, when we click the start button, it's still available. So we can keep clicking the start and resetting our game, which we don't want to be able to do. So in our start button event, once we start the game, we want the start button to be hidden. So we can go and get our set property, drag it in here, change it so that the start button hidden is true. And then when we select a tile, we want our start button to come back. So we're going to go and get the set property underneath our start button and change it to hidden as false, which will bring it back for us. And again, we can drag another one in, or you can go into the text and copy and paste it where it needs to go. In this case, I'm just going to drag a new one in, set property, start button, hidden is false. Okay, and then let's try our game one more time. So I'm going to click start, reset, run, start button should hide, and the bug is hidden. I chose the correct tile the bug was hidden behind, and I win. And now I've got the try again button. When I click this, the button's hidden, the bug's hidden behind one of the squares. I selected the wrong square in this case, and you can see this time I lose. Alright, so that is now your completed app. So I have a couple of challenges for you. One is to see if you can change the design of the app and maybe choose something other than a bug to hide. Another is to see if you can use the play sound to make it play a positive sound when you get a win and a negative sound when you get a loss. So all you need to do is find the part in the code where you either win or lose, drag in the play sound button. I'm just going to drag it in here, and then you can choose from a whole range of sounds. So achievement might be one that you want for positive, and alert for something negative. And you can try the sounds out by just clicking the play button and seeing what they sound like. And then you would of course need to change this to true. One final thing you can also play around with is if you go back to your design tab, you can choose over here in the design toolbox different themes. So at the moment we're on the default theme, there's a classic theme, and there are quite a few that you can change from, select through, which change the theme of your labels and your buttons. So feel free to have a play around with that and see if you can modify your app to make it look different to how it started originally. Once you've finished, if you click the share button at the top and post the link to your app in Google Classroom, I'll be able to go in and check and see how your app turned out. Also, if you are an iPhone user, you can send the app to your phone by scanning this QR code and save it onto your phone as an app that you can use later on. That's it for this tutorial. Don't forget to post your link on Google Classroom, and if you're an iPhone user, have a go at installing the app on your phone.